Okay. Are they going to be able to see the screen much? Should I move it? Is that better? Okay. So people, when you're talking online, you're probably going to be really dark, but that way they can see the screen. So we are here for the Inch Wide, Mile Deep. When we started Band Directors Talk Shop, that's what I asked people when they wrote an article, to pick something very specific and give details to where people could put it into practice right away. So to go pick an idea that was an inch wide, but go a mile deep. So we're going to be doing that today. We have 15-ish people, maybe, that will go, where it's going to be kind of like speed rounds, where we try to just throw as many good ideas at you as we can. We have people here from all over the U.S. and different countries, so you should get a good variety of things. Who's sharing right now?
That's me.
Can you go to Band Directors Talk Shop? And there's an article for mine on Band Directors Talk Shop. It's called Coffee, Cookies, and Carols. Let me go and start talking while you pull it up. You can start my time, Joe, if you haven't. Okay, so Coffee, Cookies, and Carols is something that we started the first or second year that the school opened, and we do it in early December. It is to invite all of the faculty on the staff to come to our band hall, because you know most teachers have never walked through your band hall, and so it's a way to invite them to come to the band hall. It also is a way to showcase our second band, our symphonic band students, by letting them play holiday ensembles in a fun way for a lot of people that they know love them and care about them and are supportive. And so there's, 3 or 4 kids playing an ensemble, which would be very intimidating at a full concert, but not so intimidating for their teachers. So we promote it a lot. I'm hoping I'll get to talk about that, but we make sure we really invite the teachers. And then they come down, and our kids have learned ensembles. Some years we've done it a little bit in class. Some years it's been on their own to sign up and come before school with their friends. I let them pick the ensembles they want, which is a big part of them buying into it. And we have like ensembles for all type books, so that they could pick any instrument, including percussion, and make it work. It's kind of like reverse caroling, so all the ensembles get in every room we have, like little practice rooms, side rooms, instrument rooms, storage rooms, and all together we have about 10 places, some are bigger than others, where the kids can go and set up. And then we leave the doors open, so there's just music everywhere if you're in the band hall, but when the teacher walks up to the room, they can hear what's happening in that room. So the invitations and getting people to come is very important. I was worried the first year, because the kids were excited. They really worked hard. I was like, man, if nobody comes, we're in trouble. So we did get coffee donated from Starbucks. If you ask ahead of time, like way ahead of time, you can usually get coffee from Starbucks. So I hope that would entice the teachers. And is that 3 minutes done?
3 minutes. Yeah, I got 3 minutes.
3 minutes left.
Yes.
3 minutes left. Okay. And I make these about 2 weeks. Well, I start putting them in the school announcements a month before. Mark it, save the date, all that kind of stuff. And then I put these in the teacher's lounge and the workroom, and I put them on the bathroom doors, like everywhere I think a teacher would see it. Then I give the kids a black and white copy, and I give them I give them 5 or 6 copies, and I say, you have to get all of these out to teachers. Some teachers should be getting 10. Like, who's going to go to the principal? Okay? I need more people. I need like 5 of you to go to the principal and invite them. Okay, who's going to go to the custodians? Okay, you got Miss Diane? Okay, you're going to go. Okay, who's going to go to the cafeteria? And then, speaking of that, when we're done, we always have cookies and coffee left over. We give it to the cafeteria, the custodians, and then if there's extras, we put it in the teacher lounges areas. And the last couple of years, our parents have done the cookies, and the first couple of years I bought them because I don't know, I didn't know how it would turn out. A couple of years ago, I started letting the parents do it. They go crazy. The teachers get these fancy cookies and brownies and all kinds of things. And we have extras, so we take that to the elementary schools, and that's our recruiting time of year. So we give it to the 5th grade teachers and the front office for helping us deal with all the recruiting that we do. So make sure you advertise. We set up a little fancy table. They come in, there's music everywhere, they all just chat, and now the teachers love it, and they ask for it every year. This year I tried to get away with not doing it, and I was told I have to do it because they got used to it. So hopefully that's helpful. You can look on the website for article for more details. Thank you.
All right, hello everyone. I'm Carolina De La Rosa, and I teach in Cary, North Carolina, for everybody watching. Let's see, today I'm going to talk about positive reinforcement. So yeah, here we go. Can you click for me? Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna yap a little bit, as the kids would say. So my credentials, I did get a dual degree in psychology with a huge focus on behavior modification. I love learning about behavior and how to modify it with students in the best, most efficient way. So I know a few things. A few definitions. So reinforcement is just trying to get the student or doing something to increase the likelihood of a desired behavior. So for this very specific thing, I'm going to be talking about student having a pencil on their stand, which none of us struggle with, right? So positive reinforcement means adding something desirable for them to do it. In this example, I'm going to talk about candy, stickers, stamps, whatever your kids want. Use it to reinforce the behavior. You can also use negative reinforcement, which is taking away an undesirable behavior or stimulus. So something like, they are exempt from a plane test, a not important one. Or practice records, if you do practice records, I don't, but whatever works for you, taking away something undesirable. You can click, thank you. Okay, so science says reinforcement is more important than more efficient than punishment. Reinforcement is a longer lasting motivator. And then reinforcement, oh, it went away, is a longer lasting motivator. And reinforcement is going to help students' self-esteem. So whenever you're like, wait, what should I do? How do I approach this behavior? I want you to think about two things. How do you want the kids to view your classroom? Is it a punishing environment, like that, where they don't want to come to class because you're nagging at them? Or do you want a positive environment where they're like, I'm being rewarded for the good things that I'm doing? So I want you to think about it that way to make it super simple. And then, how do I use it? This is 100% how I start my class. The first 3 minutes, kids are coming in, unpacking, instrument cases are under their chair, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, warming up, things like that. This is when I reinforce behavior the most. This is behavior like modification 101. You start on day 1 with clear expectations and making sure you're rewarding the behavior from day 1. So the way I use it is first 2 weeks, it's continuous reinforcement. I want a pencil on the stand, so every time they have the pencil, I'm going to reward them. So Jimmy has his pencil, stamp. Haley has her pencil, stamp. And they're getting used to getting that behavior done at the beginning of class. Second, eventually we're going to move into intermittent reinforcement, which just means I'm not going to reward it every day. You know the expectation of the pencil, so I don't have to do it every day. And then eventually, we're going to move away from the one behavior and start introducing other behaviors. So their case is under their chair, so I'm not tripping when I'm walking by. So I am rewarding Jimmy for having his case under. And eventually, you won't tell them the behavior you're checking for. They're going to be thinking in their head, oh, what is she rewarding today? Oh, I want Smarties. Why did that blue get Smarties and that blue didn't? What are they doing that will get me to the point where I will get Smarties? So you can decide what behaviors are important for you. Other thoughts, extrinsic motivation. A lot of people say, well, I want to give candy all the time. And I also want to say, you don't want to give candy all the time. The reward can change based on what works best for your students. But students with ADHD, which I'm sure you have a few, or many, or yourself, like me. So lower dopamine in the brain means they need more extrinsic motivation. So if you're wondering and you're like, why is that kid not doing what they're supposed to be doing? Extrinsic motivation is huge. So candy, stamps, stuff like that, great for them. So I hope this will help you with first 2 weeks of school. Yay. As this person is coming up and getting set up for her little presentation, I have a certificate here for Pam Ferguson for her second year here at the Band Director Talk Shop Workshop here at Canyon, as well as her Paper Plate Award for being the most likely to have a flight affected by a hurricane.
Awesome! That's awesome. Super cool. Okay. That's okay for a second, because I'm not on what I need to be. Okay. And now... and I just go there.
I think you're already on.
And there. I'm all good.
No,
Now I'm not.
So what means you did do it again?
Yeah, first one.
Pick it.
I don't ask for it. What are you going to turn off?
You know what? You can take your time. I can fill in for a second. Not to like, it's okay. Technical problems. It's okay. Hi, I'm from the Houston area. It's a big area. You think big city, you know, like big bands? No. Inner cities problems. You know, a lot of my kids are free reduced lunch. We're in the ghetto where we got every kind of problem possible. The kids like to shoot guns for fun. That kind of situation. But scheduling, of course, we have all these problems. I have that. I don't even put a timer. I have that times 10. So like my ideal band situation, I don't rehearse band during class. I pray that they come after school. It's that kind of situation. I have to rely on honor code a lot. My kids are great about it because of our culture. I rely a lot on honor culture and just self-pushing because I do have a good program. Students like will join band, but I'm only one person. I have an assistant director. We're only 2 people, and kids will join band whenever they want. Like kids that want to join band, they will join start of the year, or even I had started a saxophone the week of graduation because he wanted to do band. I teach high school. I've always been in the thought process where like if you didn't do 6th grade, it's done. Your career's over. I start juniors. I start sophomores, preferably sophomore, freshman. You know, because you get the time. Seniors if they really wanted to, but the key is if they wanted to. So if a kid wanted to learn an instrument, they will. My thing is I have them. You know, like when you do video games and they have like quests, like side quests to do. It knocks them off. My thing, I treat it like that. If, for example, 2 years ago, I had a freshman come up with her best friend, percussionist. That friend, I was like, oh, do you play? And she was like, I don't play anything. I was like, no, yes, you will. So we got her a saxophone. To God, I never had her in any of my classrooms. She was never in that situation where, okay, this is day 1. Here's your pencil paper. You know the procedures throughout the end of the year. We did not do that with her. With a lot of my students, I have to tell them, here's the sax. Here's how you play it. Get back to me when you can make the sax sound. After I play it, model it, of course. I want you to go take 5 minutes. Come back to me when you can get it still. Great. They come back to me. Maybe that same day, maybe the next day. I'm like, oh wow, like look at that. You can do that. Let me show you the next 5 notes. It's nothing too serious because I do teach a little bit older kids. They're a little more mature. They understand. Then they get that. I'm like, wow, you did amazing. So then I show them the like a scale. Then they play the scale. Maybe they come back to me the next day. But it's I do a lot of objective because I have such a range of students that I have to put it on them. Like they have goals. A big part of my program is like goal setting. Whether they know it or not, they don't really have that thought process. So I only tell them one goal at a time. So that student eventually, she became a leader within 2 years and she could teach other students. So the big thing, try not to push away students that want to learn, but also give them tangible goals, step by step. I've been working on this. I want to start like a log where it's individualized for every student. Whether you are going to be an all-stater, like here's your goals. But then for this other student that is like a senior but still sucks at playing, I'm like, let's still work. Like your next step is like being able to articulate quarter notes. Having these types of goals really helps whenever it's just 1 or 2 people helping. We don't really have much help with community. So a big thing is just having to trust that they actually do it. That's all I can really hope for. What else? Really, my biggest thing is like give them just one objective, and they'll go on. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, bam.
So last year was my first year at camp, and I learned a huge amount. My learning curve was very steep, and I wanted to take some of the ideas that I had learned from both in this workshop and from some of the clinicians and apply and decide what to apply and how to apply it in my own classroom. So one thing that I'm really particular about is having lots of visual aids, because I have 30 plus kids at a time, and I run the heterogeneous band. So as you can tell, I'm pretty busy at any one time trying to teach these beginners, and so visuals are really important to me. So last year, Marianne brought to us, I don't know, for those of you who remember those little stamps, self-inking stamps that were fingering charts? Mm-hmm. So I thought that was a fantastic idea, and I started using them last fall, and I would just put the little fingering chart stamp on the kids' piece of music or on their page, and it worked wonders until some of the kids started going, well, what did you say, where do the fingers go, and how do I color this thing in? And I thought, I can't keep backtracking all the time and showing each individual kid. So I thought I need some visuals. So what I started doing is I went to a website called scribed.com, SCRIBED.com, and I found free fingering charts that I could download. And what I ended up doing is printing them off, and these are just my small versions because I couldn't pack my big versions. But I created large versions of these fingering charts, and I laminated them, and I magnetized the back of them, put little magnet tape on the back, and then I could slap them onto my whiteboard at the front of the classroom and color in the fingers that I wanted to apply for the fingering I was trying to teach. And that way, for the whole hour they were with me, the new fingering was posted at the front of the room, and they could copy it step by step if they needed to. So in our drive, I have provided all of those fingering charts for you, so you don't have to go looking for them. You can just download the file and make your own little charts. And the other thing that made an impression on me in some of the workshops, that I can't remember who did this. It was one of the Roberts, I think, or I can't remember which conductor was teaching us, but he was talking a little bit about how do you start your classroom at the beginning of the year for beginners especially. And one thing, or a couple of phrases I remembered, was this sit smart chant that he was teaching us. Feet, floor, back, straight, neck, long, eyes forward. And then quiet was expected at that point. And so, again, I thought it would really help the kids to learn this if I could make a visual poster for them, which I can also slap on my whiteboard. And we learned the chants at the beginning of the year, and we practiced this for probably the first month, a couple of times a week, every time we had band class. And sure enough, it worked beautifully, because by the second month, anytime I would just say, okay, we're ready to start, sit smart, the kids would bolt upright and be in perfect position. So it just worked like a huge charm. And I did that poster on canva.com, if any of you are familiar. And I did a couple others. I don't know if I can get that one up. I did one around active listening. And I heard a quote from one of the conductors during a rehearsal section. He said, rest or not rest, they're intense moments of concentration. So I made up a poster about that. So I just thought it was a great way to apply. Some of those key phrases that I had learned, and have a way of putting them up in my classroom so kids could just look up and see them. And that's it. So I've provided those on the shared site, shared drive, so you guys can access them.
All right, so today I wanted to talk about something that I think is very important, and sometimes I feel like we don't emphasize it enough, and that's breathing. So this is all coming from my perspective as a low brass player. So I tell my students every year after we've learned putting together an instrument, how to take care of the instrument, all that, okay, I say, all right, we're ready to start learning how to play our instruments. And they're all, yay! Well, we're going to do step one. Here's step one. We're going to learn how to breathe. That's step one to learning to play the instrument. And they're like, oh. So I'm like, okay, well, here's why. Here's why this is so important. So I explained to them that air, you see it in the blue box there, air creates the buzz on your lips or the vibration of the reed. That buzz or vibration creates sound. That sound eventually becomes music. And it all goes back to air. Every single time you take a breath, you play, you create music, it's all because you're using your air. So I explained that to them, why that's so important, why it's so important. We have to learn how to use good air and use good breathing techniques. So what I created was a breathing checklist. All right? And the first one I put on there is the embouchure is in an O-shape formation. So I just have them say O and hold that shape so they can understand that feel. Feel how that is. Okay? Then we do the teeth are apart. Now for my low brass kids, I will have them stick their thumb out, turn it to the side, turn it, point towards them, put them up to the first knuckle, take it out, and keep the teeth apart. And that's how far apart I like my low brass kids. With trumpet, French horn, it may be a little different. I may have them do their pointer finger because their teeth may not be as far apart, but that's how I do that. Number 3, the tongue is on the bottom of the mouth when you take a breath. Okay, it's not up on the roof or anywhere else. Keep that tongue down. Okay, the air goes through the lips, goes through the teeth, goes through the tongue, and then number 4, the throat is open and relaxed. And I tell them, if they do 1, 2, and 3 correctly, 4 will happen naturally. Okay, it just does. It just does. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3, you do those, 4 happens naturally. Number 5, fill up with air. Fill it up. Get all the air you can in there. Okay? Number 6, the body is relaxed. Okay? A lot of times you'll see kids, they'll raise their shoulders, they'll tense up, and I say you can't do that because tension is bad. And I'll make them repeat that. Tension is bad. So make sure that they're keeping their body relaxed when they're taking that breath. Okay? The next one is the breath is silent. You don't want to be playing a beautiful lyrical piece and hear somebody go, woo! Okay, it kind of ruins the whole mood, right? Or just, all right, so keep that breath silent. All right, and then the last one, the air never stops. This is so important. Okay, for my explanation, I always tell them the air is a cycle. It's either going into the body or coming out. It's constantly moving all the time. You breathe in, you play, you take another breath, you play. Okay, it's just constantly moving. You're not going to stop that air. You're not going to hold that air, like until the end of the song or something like that. But always keep the air moving. Okay, and then I have a series of exercises, which I'm not going to get into today, that we do to work on these concepts, like in 4, out 4, those kinds of things. You guys are smart enough; you can come up with your own. But that's what I do, and I'll do this for at least minimum 6 weeks. Okay, thank you.
Cool. Okay, my name is Amanda Kraus. I teach at DeWitt Perry Middle School in Carrollton Farmers Branch ISD. I'm going to talk to you today about adding a leadership team into your middle school bands. It's really important to get those kids started and comfortable in order to be successful in their high school leadership teams, because if you've never been a leader, this is a good way to start. Get them ready. All right, so why have a leadership team in your middle school? This is a picture of my leadership team this past year. Awesome kids. I loved watching them grow throughout the year. But these students, no matter how young, these are 7th and 8th graders, but no matter how young, they can have leadership roles and they can have ownership of their band. Students feel really valued when they're put in these positions to help their peers out. they can and absolutely love to help you. We have kids that stay from 6 a.m. until 7 p.m. just because they love being around you and they love helping. And then, like I said, they'll have more success in their high school leadership teams and have a little bit of foundation for that. Our first ingredient is the bacon, right? Because we're building our baby BLT. Are your kids are the bacon. I start with a leadership week, and it's usually the second week of school, a little bit after they get a little bit comfortable with their schedules. We start with nominations from the students. I meet with the kids that have been nominated. They prepare their own 30-second speeches. And then we have our voting day. And it's a mix of, do I think the kid is ready after meeting with them? And then what do the other peers, what do their friends and the other peers want? Then at the end of the second week, I hold a leadership dinner where we kind of start training on how to be good servant leaders. And these leaders do not have to be your best players. We have kids in all groups. So if you have one group, it doesn't matter what their ability level. Our second ingredient, opportunities, the good stuff. These are just some of the opportunities that we give our kiddos, all the way from helping with clinicians, all the way until if we're gone during Team EA, here you go. You're running warm-up. What would you like to warm up on? That sounds great. They do everything. They help organize, and they absolutely are great. They love to be very, very helpful. Next, please. Thank you. And our last ingredient, which is the bread that supports our BLT, that is you. What can you do to help these new leaders out? Like I said, the BLT dinner, that gets them started. That gives them a little taste of how to be a servant leader model. Okay, this is how we're a servant leader. Here's how we act. Here's how we do things. Allow kids to be creative outside of their instrument. The kids are very, very artistic. They can make posters. I have kids make flyers for things. They make cards for our clinicians or another band member if they're sick. Lots of different things. They are killer DJs. I had a kiddo this year. I was like, what? Killer DJ? I'm all about it. I hope he's in leadership next year. Great. And then make sure you meet with these kids regularly to check in on them, teach them organizational skills. It's really important that you meet with them. I usually meet about every month during our advisory period, but that could change depending on your schedule and their schedule. Next. And thank you so much. I really appreciate you listening. If you have any questions, I have tons of stuff to share. You can email or text me. Thank you, guys.
Does everybody have their instruments? If you don't have your instrument, I got something for you. You have to sing.
Is it a kazoo? You have a kazoo?
Huh?
You have a kazoo?
No, I said you have to sing.
Oh, okay. I was hoping you had some kazoo.
I'm warming up, sorry.
My name is Terry Kroger. I teach at the St. Paul's Lutheran School in Lamberty, Maryland. And today, I thought after talking to many of the professionals here, what was that?
I need some graphite. I'm so sorry.
Okay. I thought after talking to some of the professionals, that we just talk about things we might do in a beginning jazz band. So today, what we're going to do as a group, we're going to play a blues. We're going to play a blues. So, Can anybody tell me how many bars, how many measures are in a blues, a basic blues?
12.
12. We got a great group here. So, the first chord, we're going to do a B flat blues. So, flat 7 scale up. We're just going to do that up. Let's do that as a group. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. Again, that sounds good. 1. Wait, where are my singers? Where are my singers? I want to hear some voices too. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right. So what we're going to do, we'll do just one measure. If we were doing one measure, we just do up. If we were doing two measures, we do up and down. So let's do up and down. Okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. Not bad. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. Good. So that takes care of our first 2 measures. Okay? Now, it's going to be 4 measures, so we'll do it up and down twice. Then we'll be to our 4 chord, which will be our 5th measure. Okay? Can anybody tell me what chord that is?
E flat 7.
E flat 7. Right. Let's hear E flat 7 up and down. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. Excellent. I'm going to take you on the road. This is all right. This is all right. All right, let's do what we have so far. So we'll do up and down for B flat 7. Then we'll do E flat 7 up and down. Okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. Wait a minute. We got 4 measures of B flat 7. Then we switch. Okay, let's try it again. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. Everybody understand that? So we're doing up and down twice. Then we switch to our E flat 7. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. Now we go back to the 1 chord again, the B flat 7. Let's try what we have so far. So it's B flat 7 up and down, B flat 7 up and down again, E flat 7 up and down, and then back to B flat 7 up and down. Okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. Change. Back to 1. Excellent. Now we go to the 5 chord, which is what chord? F7. Very good. Let's hear F7 real quick, up and down. F7. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. And then what we go back to after that? Back to the 1. Let's hear the 1. Let's hear the 1 again. 1, 2, ready, and. We ready to try the whole thing?
Yes, sir.
I want to hear the voices over the instruments, though. Can we do that? We got more voices on this side. Okay? That's right. That's right. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. Y'all need to come to my school. I need y'all. All right, let's try it again. Well, this time on the end, let's put some kind of ending on the end. Let's see. Let's do, on this side, play the third on the last chord, the third. And this side, this half, the tonic, this side, the seventh. So seventh, tonic, third. Got it? All right, let's try it. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. That's just one way you could start your whether you have a combo or a big band. Just starting them with scales. That's the best way to get them hearing the blues progression and hearing how the scales align with the chords. Okay? Thank you very much.
My student said that you sound good.
Hi there. My name is Jonathan Bjorklund. I'm from Clovis, New Mexico, and I teach at the Marshall 6th Grade Academy in Clovis, New Mexico. And I'm here today to talk to you guys about a fun event that we put on at my school called the Beginning Band Carnival. Okay, so how I got this idea was a long time ago I went to an event called Conn-Selmer University. I think today it's called Conn-Selmer Institute or something like that. And Conn-Selmer puts it on in Elkhart, Indiana. At least they used to. I don't know if they still do. Anyway, while I was there, I met a gentleman from a very successful program in Georgia, and he told us about how he did a band carnival with his beginning band. He would take a bunch of his high schoolers over to his feeder school, and they would put on a really fun event for the kids before school started. And they would have carnival games, prizes, food, and key ingredient here is lessons for these incoming sixth grade band students. Okay? All right, so another note about this is my oldest son, Nathan, just needed an idea for his Eagle project, and he's been in Boy Scouts ever since he was a Tiger Cub, and I needed to find a project that he was passionate about. He loves band, he loves music, in fact, he even wants to study it. I did nothing to that aside from setting him up with a trombone, I promise. Anyway, but this seemed like the perfect opportunity to where his needs and mine could merge together. All right. All right, so with my wife and I supporting him, he did this whole event himself. So I got his permission to do this, but I had to plug him in here. Okay, all right, that's him there in the middle next to his best buddy Gunner. You'll see people in scout uniforms. You'll also see kids, other band kids helping us out too. Go ahead. All right, so we had 3 gyms in my school, and so this made a really perfect area for us to do. So I would have welcome table in the entryway, and in the first gym that was straight ahead, we gave them their first lessons. So I had the other band directors help me. This is Mr. De Leon, and he's giving the flute lessons, the first flute lessons. So he's teaching them how to assemble their flute and how to hold it and how to make their very first sound. And we're not even talking about notes here. We're just talking about this is how you hold it, this is how you make your first sound, this is how you put it together, this is how you put it away. We're trying to avoid kids dropping their instruments on the first day of class and that thing. And so Mr. Benson, he's taking care of my saxophone players. Go ahead, yep. Clarinet players getting their first lesson. And then here's my brass players, they're getting their first lesson. And my clarinet friends, they're getting their first lesson too. Okay, cool. So, next ingredient was I need to come up with some carnival games. Now, the first part is easy, the instruction part, because hopefully you have somebody in your community that can come help you do this. Hopefully, or you can pull, hey, next town over, hey, can you come help me, help me with my band carnival and help give kids lessons, okay? So that's what I did. Carnival games, sure. In our community, lots of schools have a fall carnival, okay. And I don't know if this is maybe just a strictly West Texas, New Mexico thing or what, but we have a fall carnival, and the kids come through and they can, they play games, they win prizes, There's auctions that the parents take part in, and they go spend crazy amounts of money on Walmart stuff. It's kind of funny. So anyway, can you go back? There we go. So yeah, I found these carnival games in the elementary school. So there's a somebody help me, I forget what this one's called. Yeah, cornhole, thank you. In the previous slide, there was a picture of a golf game where they would hit the golf balls onto the screen and they would stick, okay? And so they would win tickets on these different games, and my son came up with a number of tickets prescribed for each win, okay? Okay, good. All right, and there would be prizes for these tickets, okay? So like, for example, the clarinets, I got the local music store to donate me some music stands and some boxes of reeds and some clarinet kits. Okay, and so they went into the buckets here, and at the end of the night, I would pull, and the kids had to write their names on them. At the end of the night, the kids would I would pull their names out, and little Susie Piano has won a box of clarinet reeds. Congratulations, Susie Piano! Here you go. And so we would give away prizes doing that. Food was very important as well. We got. Now, my son was able to negotiate with the local McDonald's and got them to donate 200 hamburgers. You might not, yeah. Well, quick side note about that. We called the owner of the local McDonald's, okay, and he said, and he was going to tell my son no, but and when my son explained the whole project to him, he says, "Oh my goodness," he said, "Well, I have a confession to make. I'm also an Eagle Scout, and I did a really similar project, so I'm going to go ahead and donate the hamburgers to you." So that's how that went. But our local Wiener Schnitzel will also sell us 25-cent hot dogs as well. So. So we made sure that each of the kids got something. That's my daughter right there, by the way. And that's an all-state clarinet player right there. That's a trombone player. That's an oboe player. Yeah, from the high school. They can help. But, and I got the pep band to play in the other gym. So I had 3 gyms. I had one with lessons going on, and one with the carnival games going on, and one with the pep band playing. And they just went to town. I mean, they were, bad sounds, really honking loud, peel the paint off the wall kind of sounds, The parents just ate it up. They absolutely loved it. And, all right, go ahead. And we had lots of volunteers to come help with us, like I said. Go ahead. So you can see the scouts are up there, and there's Nathan with a bunch of his high school friends that came to help him. They came to run the carnival games, work the concession booth, and go ahead. And yes, 2 days ago, we got this in the mail. There you go. And that's how I put on a beginning band carnival.
Cool.
So many chords.
Hi there, I'm Christina Cord. I teach elementary general music and elementary beginning band and beginning choir in New Mexico. And I think I'm going to write a book. I learned how to be a better band director by being a general music teacher. One of the first things that I changed in my band teaching, and I'm going to take like 2 bites of the apple, but they're going to be really small ones, is encouraging extending out your long notes when you're clapping rhythms. Instead of, like, say for a half note, 1, drag it. 1, whole notes. 1, take it across, preferably left to right, in order to fill the space. Nature abhors the vacuum, and so does a 5th grade beginning player. They got tas and TTs all day long, or when we go into 1, 2, 3, 4s, 1, 2, 2 tays. But when you get into those longer notes, they get impatient. And so if you can lengthen your clapping, a lot of times you can lengthen the air as well, and you can get a full, let that note live for as long as it's supposed to. The other thing, I teach beginning band. I have 5th and 6th graders. I don't see them every day. So I always create things that with my kids to come up with ways to solve problems. Our problem was forgotten instruments. Instruments being forgotten and not brought to school on their band day. So my kids are really competitive, and so I have some leaders too. I have like teacher helpers and all that. We came up with a little game called Band Champs. We had everybody in the band, and I have a heterogeneous, all instruments, for all band times, 40 kids in a room, and me. And so they said, I want to be able to expose their playing as well as I made double duty playing. I use poker chips. I divide my 35 kids into red, white, and blue poker chips. They draw at random, so the teams are random. They don't get to make their own teams. And you're on the red team, the white team, or the blue team. I put their names on the backs of the poker chips so that their names are not on display. And then every kid starts with 3 points, and if they forget their instrument, they move down and they move down. If they come in for a private lesson during recess, they move back up. They move back up. So there's always a restorative justice thing. In addition, they also can we do playing tests, and I can do, or just playing check-ins, exposure and repair, but I still have kids who are really nervous. So instead of having just the clarinets, where I can have a clarinet hide, just the red team play. And if I'll have clarinet, a flute, a trumpet, and a trombone all on that team. So I can actually hear who's really doing it and who really isn't in shorter order, and not, because I don't have enough time to go down the line every single time. But if I can get small ensembles to play, I can usually pick out what's going on. Best rendition will get 3 points for their team. Second best rendition will get 2, and even the worst one will get 1 point for their team. At the end of the 9 weeks, we add up all of the points, and the team with the most points comes in for a Little Caesars Pizza's lunch with the band director. My kids are tremendously competitive about this. They are cutthroat. So-and-so forgot their instrument. You better move it down. It's up at the office. I'm going to go get it right now. And it really works well. I like being able to randomize the teams. One of our other professional development people talked about having squads as opposed to just, as leaders. This becomes like different squads to where I can expose and repair issues while not having as many people waiting to play, and go as quickly as possible. And wipe the slate clean for the next 9 weeks, and away we go. And a couple of Little Caesar pizzas. It didn't cost much. I can get my my school to purchase those. Yes, ma'am.
So that just represents, is this what you use?
Oh, yes, I use a cookie sheet, dollar store cookie sheets. I have them up with 3M strips on the wall. And this is a small version. I usually have one big cookie sheet for 3, another one for 2, another one for 1, because I have 30 kids. And I can move them down and move them back up.
So how many levels do you have?
Just 3. So every kid starts with 3 points, and if they forget their instrument, they'll move down to another cookie sheet, which is 2, or the next cookie sheet is 1. If they hit 1 and they forget it again, then I know I got to call mom, or they're grown up. So that actually also helps me keep monitoring that as well.
So if someone in the red squad, anyone in the red squad, forgets their instruments?
Yeah, I don't have 1, I have 30 reds.
Okay, got it.
And then I don't have 1 blue, I have 30 blue chips with their names on the back.
Got it.
Yeah, I didn't want to be like, here's 1 and here's 1 and here's 1. I didn't want to have too much to carry through. And they are also pretty cool to be portable, because I do go to a second school, and I could stack 3 cookie sheets and go next door and do the same thing again.
That's cool.
And that's it.
Hello, I am Rosemary Sears. I am from the great state of Massachusetts. I teach in the Somerville Public Schools there. Today, I'm going to show you stress balls. So kids, as you know, love fidgets, and they love these stress balls. So I thought, I'm going to try putting it into a trumpet bell and see what happens. So the 2-inch ones are good for the trumpets, and what they're good for is getting students to get that G to pop, because your air has to have a certain velocity or a certain speed to be able to get the ball to shoot out of the bell. So it can be a little crazy for sure, but it really seemed to click for some people, because you do have to have something of an embouchure, and as I mentioned, you have to have the airspeed to get that note to pop out. And I found the kids who really were struggling and were only hitting the C and not hitting the G were a little more successful when they had the stress ball. And there are also 2.5 sizes. I have no vested interest in Oriental trading, so let me just fully disclose. But the 2.5 will work well for trombone, and if you're stuck, they can also work well for the trumpet. Obviously, you have to make sure they're in there well enough that they're not just falling out on their own. So that's it. So, have fun.
Are you using airplane?
Just a quick heads up, because we're doing so great on transitions, and people are staying on time and like looking at my numbers. We're doing great on time. So if anyone is feeling a little crazy, if you feel like you want to come up, do something spontaneous, feel free to at the end. We got a lot of time.
Okay, so I'm Julia Lawson, and I teach in Carrollton Farmers Branch at DeWitt Perry Middle School. And one of the things that's really important to me is posture. I think somebody commented that when I'm taking notes that I'm sitting in perfect posture, even when I'm taking notes here, which is hilarious because now my presentation is on posture. So there's that. So in the very beginning, when we start our sixth graders, we talk about sitting, and I usually do the presentation. We sit as we stand, which we heard earlier today from our tuba guest that was talking. And I like to start it by using a chair. We don't have these kind of rolly chairs, so that's rolling away is not usually an issue. But we start with our feet, and I'm going to set that there for free to, We start with our feet, and we have everybody stand up, and we look at our feet, and we put our feet parallel to the ground. And we have to talk about skiing because most of my kids have not been skiing before. So we have to talk about what does it mean to ski. So we have kids turn their feet away from each other and try to sit down. And then they have to stand up. And then they have to walk like that because we sit as we stand. And then we have kids that cross their feet like pizza wedges and cheese wedges. And we sit down like that. And then we stand up and we try to walk like that. And it's really hard and it's kind of funny. And then we put our feet parallel with each other, about shoulder width apart. We make sure that our ankles are in line with our knees, because some kids lock their knees, and that's dangerous because they can pass out. We go from the ankles up to our knees, making sure they're soft, making sure then that we line up with our hips, because, well, I'll get into it a little bit later, but the hips are really important, and I'll talk about that in just a second. And after we go into our hips, we go into what we call the angel wings. Everybody has angel wings until you lose them, and usually their name is Angel. But they have angel wings in the back, and so you want your angel wings, which are your shoulder blades, to be over your hips, and you want your ears in line with your shoulders. And then we want your eyes to be forward. In high school, we said eyes pride, eyes pride, eyes pride, each time getting louder. I think that's a West Texas thing. I'm not sure. So then this is my favorite part of the explanation because we get to sit down in the actual chair, and it cracks everybody up when we sit down in the chair because we bend at the hips. And I have a lot of junk in the trunk, so it's hilarious because I actually have to stick it out even further, which makes the kids giggle a little bit, and we laugh, and it's fun. So we make sure the chair is still there and hasn't moved, because if they sit down when the chair has moved, everybody will laugh. But we fix our feet, checking our posture all the way up. We bend at the waist, and we lead with the tops of our thighs, and we sit down on the tops of our thighs. And then we try to roll back on our sit bones, and we see what happens with our upper torso and how it caves in. And then we go back to sitting on the tops of our thighs. And we do that a couple times just to make sure, like, are you sitting on the tops of your thighs? Are you sitting up? Some check fors. Check for sitting on the tops of the thighs and not in the back of the chair. You want to check, did they move their feet, have them stand up? If they had to move their feet, then they weren't sitting correctly. Check for, my favorite thing to check for is duck butt. And if you look around, even at this camp, and with your own kids, again, I have a lot of junk in the trunk. Donald is one of my favorite characters. I think I relate well to him. But a lot of your flute players are hyper, they're the go-getters. They want to impress you. We sit on the front row and we're very close to your baton and we're very close to you. So we want to impress you. So we're going to overdo everything that we do. So duck butt is when you stick this part of your lower back out. I'll turn it this way. and you're hyperextending. And then later on, you'll see your flute players and they'll be like, oh, my back hurts. Oh, whiny little babies. It's because you're not sitting correctly. But make sure that you sit correctly. Sitting on your sit bones causes your lower back to be strained, and you kind of have that little question mark. I call it the question mark. I'm like, would you walk around your school looking like this? Kids are going to make fun of you. Don't do that. That's that. Yep. And then, yep. And then front-facing instruments, you want to check your stand to make sure that they are sitting correctly. For me, when I have a flute, we always do flute check, which is where, I don't know what happened. Oh, sorry. I put my elbows on my knees, and I pick up, and I move my chair, and my stand is facing at whoever the conductor is. Same thing goes for the trumpet players. I'll have them point to the conductor, and between the point is my stand, but they can't play into their stand. So I'll have them move it slightly over to the left or the right. Trombones, the stand goes over to the right leg. And then I was supposed to talk about the trombones and the tubas. Tubas have to turn their chairs kind of like the flute players. And bell up instruments, you want to make sure that when you're playing bassoon, saxophone, French horn, that their lead pipes are facing you and that their stands are offset up just a little bit. So like bassoons are off this way. They can't have their stands on the left. They have to have them on the right. So that's it. That's what I got.
I'm Austin Zimmerman. I teach up in Perryton, Texas. It's still in Texas, barely. So I got a couple resources I want to share. I'm someone who usually writes their own warm-ups. I just can never find really what I want, and so I'm just like, I'm just going to do it myself. I enjoy it, but also because I just wanted a certain way. My friend had told me about these several times, but I was like, I don't. But finally I decided to give them check them out. The website is John McAllister Music. John McAllister is a composer, and he has a bunch of different warm-ups and as well as like little technique pages. Up the top, see free resources. He has tons of stuff. You see here the warm-ups kind of follow a flow chart. You got first fundamentals for like super babies. I did foundation warm-ups for my second band this year, and then I moved them up to frameworks, and then I did young ensemble mostly with my top group. But I didn't use like the whole warm-ups from each. I kind of did chunks. The parts I liked. I'm going to be in and out of the camera. It's fine. So just for example, this is kind of what the young ensemble warm-ups look like for the flute. You can see you got kind of your traditional Remington, which just doesn't go back up. My favorite parts of these though are the flexibility studies. So you see the flutes are just going, kind of up high, come back down. At the same time they're doing that, brass are doing lip slurs, and the clarinets are doing register studies. And so it's like you got everybody doing kind of what they should be doing, and what's good for their instrument. And I did use flexibility 1 to replace my usual lip slurs. Flexibility 2, we didn't get super into, we didn't get as far into as I wanted to, but brass is going ba-da-dee-da-da-da-da-dee. Doing the faster lip slurs, and women's are doing doodlies and scale patterns. So I get that. There's also another Flex 3 that I stole, where the flutes go up into the stratosphere and so do the clarinets, and it's just kind of building range for all the instruments. I can't remember exactly which one that is on, but that's kind of what I did. I incorporated those in my one. Oh, there, look at that. There it is. Flex 3, yeah, flutes go up in the stratosphere. It's great. There's also some chromatic stuff and articulation stuff. But there's a lot of really good stuff in the warm-ups that you can pull from or just use the actual thing. But again, JohnMcAllisterMusic.com has other stuff. I also really like to use the, I think it's called the Page of Patterns. They have all different keys. It's one of my favorite torture methods. At least that's what my students think. They're really fun though. Really fun, except for trombone. I cannot play them very well on trombone. The second thing I have is an app called Staff Wars. I stole this from a teacher that I was doing a long-term sub with, and he just did this like whenever we kind of, like he wasn't really feeling well or whatever, we did this at the beginning of the year. You have to choose your range, for like all the instruments, and it just, no staff, just say like we're working with tubas, go way down the basement. It also kind of tells you your high scores. So this was kind of fun because I can see my little brass box got to 78. I believe that was my flute class, got to 88. And then you get to go like next class, clarinet. So I'm like, hey, look what flutes did. And they're like, oh, gotta beat them. That's just the way they are. And then my other director also did the grand staff with the percussion. And I just want to show y'all kind of what it looks like, what it sounds like. The way I do it is I have the students usually call out answers. And we'll all go down the road and I'll just be like, go, go, go as they're coming up. And the more you answer, the faster it goes, and it has like cool music. So this is just like super basic range. So, see what turn up. So it goes super slow first, there's no music. After you get enough in, I'm so good. There it goes. So now the music starts, and the kids get super hyped. Like they really do. And then you got one kid that's like, G, nope. And it kind of blows up, and you get 3 mistakes, and it just kind of keeps going. And the more you get done, yeah, it won't. But yeah, and the faster it goes, the more the music kind of gets hyper, like gets hyped up, and the kids are like, G, and it gets really fun when it gets fast. I use this at the beginning of the year when they're learning notes, but also I use it when I'm teaching notes. Like when I was like, okay, we're going to go all the way up to the range. And I just found it's a good way to go teach and reinforce. No names.
Austin. Yes. So does it still have the microphone feature where it can listen to an instrument like it used to?
I have no idea.
And match pitch?
I didn't know that.
It used to have that where you could have it, like a kid at home could play it. Use on their computer. You could play the correct note and it would blow up the note.
I did not know that.
I know the app will do that. The app will do that. So, okay.
Yeah. That's my other workshop.
While he's getting set up, also I use those John McAllister warm-ups as well. My kids love them. There's a cinematic video and backing track at almost every single warm-up. Super cool. I even did it at a concert once, my winter concert, because he does seasonal warm-ups. So he'll do like a winter warm-up, and it includes like, all the bells, Carol the Bells, and like different little cute things. The kids love the warm-ups. He has a Halloween one, spring one, a Paris one that's really cute, Ireland. So like there's really great stuff on there.
With the game, there's also a rhythm game, and it has levels. Okay. Literally, your kids will be like so intense, but then they can read because you're doing one hand like a mouse click. This one's your foot tap, and the other one is the rhythm. So they have to keep a constant, separate thing going with their motor skills, so it helps.
You know the name of it?
I can send it to y'all.
Right, I am John. I teach in Brookville, Indiana, and I have a confession. I'm a bit of an app addict. I will easily spend 2 hours hunting for an app to do something I could have done in 5 minutes. And I have a very large collection of apps, but occasionally I come across something that's pretty great. How many of you are familiar with Sheet Music Scanner? One person. Yeah. I truly think this app should be much more widely known in our profession. I'm going to show you what this thing can do. It is nothing short of magic, what you can do with Sheet Music Scanner. So what we have with Sheet Music Scanner is an app that can take a picture with your phone and play the music you just took a picture of back to you.
Ooh. Yeah.
And if you have the music as a PDF, it can be imported into the app and it will play the PDF back to you. Oh, yeah. Now that's the parlor trick. That's that's cool. But where the real power comes is what you can do next. You can now export what you just took a picture of as a music XML, as MIDI, as an audio file. Maybe you're starting to see why this could be so powerful. What I like to do is I will take that XML and I'll open it up in Finale. I'll take a MIDI and I'll put it into Logic. And I don't enter a single note, I take a picture. So I'm going to do a little example here. I actually just before we left for Texas, I had a student who just graduated who was needing some help with an audition coming up. And I used this very workflow to give him something that he could do while we were here in Texas. So last night, I just pulled this copyright-free PDF of the Bach Prelude in C major. This PDF has not had, what you're getting ready to see is nothing but just this PDF, okay? Electronic form. So what I did was I just scanned it in the app, and this is a screenshot from my phone. It took about 4 or 5 seconds to scan the entire thing, and then this is what I see in the app. Now again, I've done nothing but scan it in. I just opened the PDF. Here's what it sounded like. No editing. That's great. But what if you want to hear it on accordion?
Yeah.
You can. What if you want to change key? You can. What if you want to change the tempo? You can. Again, that's the parlor trick, but you can see how that can really be helpful to, say you've got a beginner student who's got a solo and they're struggling to know how does it go? Take a picture, boom. Now, here's where I really think it's very powerful. All of these are ways you can export that picture. So again, I'm using exactly what I just showed you. I exported as music XML. And then I opened up Finale, and this is exactly what showed up in Finale with 0 editing. I do not care how fast you are entering something into notation. You're not beating me. This start to finish, if I had just done it start to finish, I could have had this exact thing in Finale in less than 1 minute. All of those notes. Can anyone beat me on that? It's crazy.
Is this just an Apple product or is it a
No. This is both Apple and Android, and if you're on Android, we can pray afterwards. But it is primarily Apple swear. Very good. One other thing, I can export as MIDI. So I took the same file. Again, I have done absolutely no editing, but I imported it into Logic. And so if you've always wanted to hear what a rock beat sounded like with Prelude and C, put it into Logic, and then you can do that, and you can do your other editing. So what I did for our student, he had 2 pieces he needed to play for his college marching band audition. One of them was the alma mater, it's pretty slow. Took a picture, well, actually had a PDF, scanned it, boom, he had an MP3. Their fight song was very fast, and he needed a slower tempo. So input the PDF, set the tempo at half speed. He has a play-along track at home that is half the tempo, and then I gave him a full tempo one. So he's able to use either one as he's learning. Super handy. This app, I looked up on Android, the Android store today, I think it was $4.50.
Yeah.
No subscription. It is worth every single penny. I don't know what it is on iOS because I've already purchased it, and so I can't see what the price is, but
What's it called?
it's called Sheet Music Scanner.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It showed up free on mine. It's free.
Well, I'd actually seen something that looked like maybe it was free. I'm telling you, this guy needs... I've actually heard an interview with the developer of this app, and he was trying to learn how to play, I think it was guitar, and he was struggling because he didn't have a teacher, and so he wrote an app that would play the music he was looking at. It is not perfect. There are some pieces that it can't do, and there are some things that it can't recognize. But I mean, come on, right? Yes, ma'am?
What is Logic?
Logic is Apple's, are you familiar with Pro Tools?
No.
It is music editing software, recording and editing software.
Gotcha.
Yes?
Have you tried scanning a score, like a director's score?
Scores are not able to, in my experience, it struggles with that. However, I have scanned trios, and it has worked for that. And obviously, like keyboard music, it works. If you have, say, you have a bass clarinet in your marching band, like us for reasons, and if you need a tuba part converted, you could take a picture and then do some editing in Finale. Yes?
Did you adjust the tempo in like Logic or Finale or for that student, or did you just inside the app?
I think I did it inside the app, and then it exported with that tempo. I think that was the only editing that I did, and that was just selecting.
Right.
I remember this from last year.
Hello everyone online and in person. My name is Stephanie Bradley. Actually, it's Stephanie Weens, just got married. Yeah. I'm glad that you guys are with us online and for everyone who's here. I'm springboarding off of what John just did. John, right? I'm going to show you Audacity. Raise your hand if you're familiar with Audacity. Okay, so there's a few people who are not. So it's audacityteam.org. You download it for free. And then my favorite part about using Audacity is I go in here and I import a file, an audio file. So for example, this year we were playing songs for end of the year concert that we needed the tracks to be slower. And so I got the tracks from the publisher because it had tracks that went with it, all legally, I promise. And then I pick a file, open it up. There it is. Here's what it sounds like originally. Oh, I guess AirPlay doesn't work, or the sound.
I can.
Is it? You'll just have to trust me. You'll just have to trust me. You'll just have to trust me that this is at 120 beats because that's what the composer set it at. And then if I click select here, selects all of the track, then I can change the tempo to be whatever I want, and I can change it down here. And so that's Audacity. That's how I like to use Audacity. I'm sure there's other people in the room who know other ways to use it that are better than that, but there's that. Joe went ahead and let me have some more time. So I'm going to go over my gadgets and gizmos from last year since we're trying to fill a little bit more time. So for those people who've already heard this, sorry. And for those of you who haven't, sorry as well. Just kidding. Okay, so instrument gadgets and gizmos. Easy, fun, and practical ways to help your beginners. For flute, I like to get little stickers that are smiley faces, and I like to put those on the keys that are not being used. That way they don't squish them. I like to name them. Every year the kids and I will come up with different names. 2 years ago when I did this, it was Fred, George, and Ron. That's just how it was. Then for, if you have open, whole flutes, but you don't have the plugs, because for some reason a child has eaten them or pocketed them, I like to use this colored masking tape. It works wonders for just putting over the open holes, and it doesn't leave any residue. That's my favorite part about that tape. I like to use these, what are they called? Teeth savers on flute. one for where the left thumb goes and one where the right hand placement would be. I like to put those on there as a visual representation of where both hands would go. You also can use those for saxophone and clarinet, obviously. One more thing that I really like to use for flutes is nail polish. I think it was the professor who was in here. Yes, I didn't want to pronounce her name wrong, but she said use nail polish, and I'm totally on board with that. So a flute head joint should be pulled out a little bit already when they're starting to learn the flute. Otherwise, it's going to be really out of tune when you try and put it with the rest of the band. So you can mark the alignment, and you can mark about how much you want them to have it pulled out as well. And it does not hurt the flute. The nail polish will come off with wear and tear of the flute. And I put a nail polish on flutes that have been rented from a music store, and they had no issue with it. They said whatever you need to do, it works. For clarinet, you guys all know about these. Cut the pencil grips in half or in thirds, put them on the clarinet. Get a nice little grippy, cheap grip. And then I also like to use the stickers. They were also coincidentally named Fred and George. No wrong this time, to put on the keys that that you don't actually push down with your 6 fingers. Kind of hard for me to describe how that looks, but if you know what I'm talking about, there's one like right here in what?
The sliver keys?
Yes, those. Because for some reason, my students always want to put, they don't know, we don't exactly know, because the very first one, is it the very first one, or is it on the bottom that doesn't actually have a hole or a key? You know what I'm talking about?
The third finger C?
Yes. So I probably just confused people with that, so I'm sorry about that. And for brass, for some reason, as many times as I draw it on the board or have a diagram or mark it on their fingers, they still forget which on their valved instrument is 1, 2, and 3, or 4. So you can get little stickers like these, and you can put them on the valve caps, not the caps, the keys. Yes, pearls, whatever they're called. For French horns, a lot of French horn, our babies are small, and I play with these as well. They're called saxophone palm key risers, and I get them from Houghton Horns. But I use them on my French horn. It makes the keys longer and taller. Oftentimes the companies will put like dimes on them, but the dimes don't make the keys taller, and that's what I need to play. Just 2 more things. I was blessed to teach elementary school for 5 years before I did band, and I had an abundance of drumming buckets, and we use those for tuba stands, upside down, because the tuba stands that I inherited at my school were the screws were gone, they were all messed up. So if you need a quick fix of a tuba stand and you don't want to spend the however much money it was, you can get some buckets. Or if you just have some lying around. The last thing that I really like is shelf liner. You can put the shelf liner on the bucket so the tubas don't slip off. You can also, if you're this is my last thought, and I promise my last thought. You can also put the shelf liner if the student the torso is short enough for the bottom of a euphonium to lay on their leg. You can put that on their leg as well. And then I'll throw this in there, and then there's a whole bunch more stuff in there you guys can look at. Thank you.
Okay, today's the day I realized I can't be one of those artists that are on the street that do on the spot photos, like they start drawing. I cannot do that. Caricatures, yeah, I cannot do that. Wow. Well, here I have a poorly drawn circle of fifths. I know Derek Eldridge, who's been in the camp 2 years, but he didn't come this year. He would do this, And I did it, and it benefited my program. Again, like I said before, hopefully it's viewing. Like, it benefits, it catches like the things I can't just teach. Again, like I don't see these kids all the time. There's things I miss. There's things I just can't help with. This is a really good visual, especially when some kid has like learned the trumpet, he knows what a G is. And then like, honestly, onto God, if they get like a scale, I kind of just add them into the band. I'm like, okay, we're on concert F. That little kid's like, what the flip is an F? F? This F? And then, you know, something's off. So, with this circle of fifths that I drew really poorly, this is a really good visualization of where instruments fall in their, like in the key that they're made. So, on the outside of the circle of fifths are all the C instruments, tuba, the euphonium, I just drew once, the flute piccolo, which I drew, the oboe, little thing over there, and the mallet instruments are all C instruments. So I told the kids, if that's your instrument, you don't have to worry about the circle of fifths that much. It's if that's not you, then your instrument's on here, then it does this might help you. So this little cinnamon roll that I drew as a French horn, the placement of these does matter. So on here, you put like a circle that says like one jump, and make sure you know the arrows, like that it is going clockwise. That's the important part, clockwise. So one jump, if I say an F, that's talking about their C. Over here with the B flat instruments, I drew a sax, but I put a T just so you can tell. Tenor sax, a trumpet, and a clarinet. A concert F, clarinet, like their lingo, you jump twice. 1, 2, that's their G. You're like, oh, okay, so if like, you know, it happens, you kind of get ahead of yourself. Sometimes you're like, wait guys, that D isn't the D isn't in tune. Can everyone play their D? Everyone has a different D. So if you forget, and you're like, the student forgets, they're like, oh, they're talking about that letter, not D, but E. Or for the E flat instruments, altos and baries, make sure the important part is you put the instrument next to that circle. Notice it's right next to it. It's right. Honestly, my board isn't as clean, but that's okay. You can make it as pretty, as Etsy beautiful, Pinterest beautiful as you want. Make it flashy. This is so important to kids that they see. Like they need to be able to understand like jumps, and this is good for them because some kids don't even know what the circle of fifths is until they go to college, if they get to that point. It's good to introduce it now in a more tangible, more physical, something that they can understand. This is like a good tool for them. Also, you can also use this for like their keys. Like my kids know, like when you start going this way, you add a flat, and that tells you your key. Yes, high schoolers still forget their key signatures, even though we only go to like E flat. But I know. So this honestly is very helpful. The bigger you make it, the better. Don't make it like this kind of sheet paper and just hang it on the wall. No one's gonna read that. Mine's honestly, I use a board that's like this big. I know Derek, when he showed us his was like covering like a big wall. So honestly, the bigger, the better. I'm the type to kind of think of students. If I were a student, I wouldn't understand like jump twice. Like if I told you jump twice, from your letters, you have to memorize the circle of fifths. Kids only remember Fortnite, Roblox. That's all. They won't visualize it. This is like an easy key for them. A very tangible, very simple steps. And our last one.
Hi, I'm Leah LeBlanc. I teach in South Louisiana, Rain, Louisiana. I teach 6th through 12th grade, every instrument plus color guard every day of the week. We have a 4-day week, so we actually have a rehearsal for like 4.5 hours, and it's really benefited us. We start at 7:30 in the morning and go till 11. Sometimes if they want to stay later, we do that. So I'm dyslexic, and I teach in every way possible because I was that kid that didn't understand. I was always lost because they explained it one way and that was it, the end of story. I teach every way. If I can't get a kid to get it, I'm teaching it 8 different ways. If it doesn't work today, I'm going home, I'm doing some research, I'm coming back tomorrow to teach the same thing in 8 different ways. So here's my tip for rhythms and rests. Okay, so say the biggest subdivision that you have in that measure is just 8th notes. Say you have a note here, a note here. This is a rest. Oops. This is a rest and then a note here. Sometimes your kids will be like super unsure of a rest. So what I do is I write out the smallest unit, which is subdivision, and I put my hand over it. So that way they can see I'm taking this away, but it's the same note value. Or I'll do this. But if I have something like a dotted quarter, my kids struggle but so hard on dotted quarters because they want to play half note. It's not a half note. So if I do this, because typically you'll have a dotted quarter and then an 8th note. That's how I do it. And then if you have 16th notes, you write your little 16th note. Say I have a rest right here in the measure, and they can't get it, I do the same thing. But the way I practice is I make them move around for it. So we'll play on the same note, and I'll say, okay, let's do this one. So for example, I have a class. Play this. So this is 1. You're not going to play 1. You're going to start on the E or whatever y'all say for Eastman. Okay? So 1, 2, ready, go. Again. 1, 2, ready, go. So then I'll move it. 1 and 2 and ready and go and. I'm going too fast. I'm slowing it down. My bad, bro. 1 and 2 and ready and go and. You get what I'm saying though? I move it around like this. And if that doesn't work, I make the kids get up and they have to like feel the beat and you're moving your whole legs. It's not, because I can't see that. So that way they can feel where it is, and I know it looks dumb, but if we all look dumb together, it's not. If it works, it's not stupid. So I make them do that, and then those kids that are kinetic learners get it. Or I'll go up behind them and I'll tap on their shoulders what it is, and that works. Do you have any questions? Okay. I sent that link to the rhythm game as well in the group chat. The same thing as the staff force. Okay.
OMG, look at that. We ended right on time.
Hey, late breaking news on iOS. My app's now $18 a year. But hey, it's worth $1.50
Small
a
price
month.
to pay.
It's worth $1.50 a month.
So don't forget, at 3:30 we're gonna have the director's band. Make sure to go at the middle school one because the high school one's very packed. So and our chops are fresh.
Where are they gonna post the link?
So it's a-
The one that the high school kids have been going to, the one
Right across from
carnival. Yeah.
That's what our last one's on.
Yeah.
We just do one.